everyone, this is Sweta Tulathar from Aduce Online Study, and today I am going to give you my presentation on Foundation of UNO, Purpose of UNO, and Principles of UNO. United Nations Organization UNO is one of the important international organizations taking part in global governance. The League of Nations is the first international organization which came into existence after the First World War. It failed to maintain peace and security. Hence, the Second World War was the reason behind the birth of United Nations. UNO was established on 24th October 1945. This international organization was named United Nations Organization as per suggestion of U.S. President Mr. Franklin D. Roosevelt. The following meetings, conferences, and declarations during the war period laid the foundations for the establishment of the UN, and they are Inter-Allied Declaration in 1941. European government in exile, that is Belgium, France, Greece, Norway, and Poland, and the governments of Commonwealth, that is Australia, Canada, New Zealand, and South Africa, issued an Inter-Allied Declaration on 12 June 1941 in London to work together to establish peace. Atlantic Charter in 1941. A joint declaration issued by Franklin D. Roosevelt, the President of the USA, and Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of the UK, in the Atlantic Ocean on 14th August 1941 marked the decisive role on the roadmap for the establishment of the UN. Declaration of United Nations in 1942. On 1st January 1941, by the representative of 26 states including USA, UK, Soviet Union, China made a declaration in which, for the first time, the word United Nations was used. Fortunately, the term became the name of the future international organization. Moscow Declaration in 1943. In continuing process of searching for the permanent security system, the political leaders of the Soviet Union, the Great Britain, the USA, and China signed the declaration in Moscow on 30th October 1943. There was clear commitment among them to establish a general international organization based on the sovereign equality of all states. Tehran Declaration in 1943. The Tehran Declaration is an important effort to establish UN. The declaration was signed by Soviet Union, the Great Britain, and the USA. Dumbarton Oaks Conference in 1944. Dumbarton Oaks Conference has 4 powers, and these powers joined together to elaborate the legal basis of the future international organization. It drafted the Charter of UN and made basic structures for General Assembly and Security Council. However, a number of issues regarding the voting in the Security Council, veto power, membership, future of colonial territories, and statute of the International Court of Justice remained unsettled. Yalta Conference, which was held on 1945 February 11th. In this conference, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin agreed upon a right of veto for the great powers with a permanent seat in the Security Council on all substantive matters. The Yalta Conference called upon and invited all peace-loving states to the United Nations Conference on International Organization as a founding conference of the UN in San Francisco on 25th April 1945. San Francisco Conference, which was held on 1945 April 25th to June 26th. Representatives from 51 states participated in this conference. They discussed, modified, and finalized the Charter of the UN as per negotiated by the great powers at Yalta Conference. The conference ended successfully with the adoption of the UN Charter signed by representatives on 26 June 1945. Establishment of United Nations on 24th October 1945. The Congress of the United States ratified the Charter on 28 July 1945. After the Charter was ratified by a majority of the signatory states, including all five permanent members of the Security Council, the UN formally came into existence on 24th October 1945. Purpose of UNO. According to the Charter, following are the basic purposes of the UN: to secure international peace and security. The maintenance of international peace, security, and elimination of war constitute the primary purpose of the United Nations. The notion that international peace and security does not only mean the absence of war and conflict, rather, it refers to a harmonious and tension free cooperation of the global community. To develop friendly relations among the states. The second purpose of the UN is fostering friendly relations between states based on respect for the principle of equal rights and self-determination of the people. Equal rights mean all states, be it rich or poor, small or large, have equal rights in international governments. Similarly, self-determination is to give grant to states to be completely independent from the colonial rule and to give them rights to organize non-self-governing territories as sovereign states from the colonial power. To promote international cooperation. For the purpose of international cooperation, the UN calls upon all members countries and global community to promote economic, social, cultural, and humanitarian cooperation in every respect. The UN framework involves fostering international cooperation by its various specialized agencies, autonomous bodies, and other mechanisms as appropriate regarding the international cooperation. To promote respect for human rights, dignity, and freedom of all the people living in the world. The UN Charter addresses the fundamental human rights of the people of the world based on the equality of men and women. The experiences have shown that international peace, security, and stability largely depend on the respect to the fundamental human rights of each individual and every state. To harmonize the actions of nations in attaining common ends. The UN is a central institution and a common platform in which the international community discuss their matters of concern. The UN and its principal organs assume to bear the responsibility to carry out and solve the concern of the international community. Principles of UNO. The UN acts and performs its tasks in accordance with the following principles. The sovereign equality of all its member states. It refers that states are key actors in the international affairs and they have equal rights regardless of their factual disparities such as size, population, economic strength, and power. All members should fulfill charter obligations in good faith. The principles of good faith underline the fact that the member states sincerely fulfill their obligations adopted in the charter. It is considered as a general element of natural international law. It stresses that member states are obliged and bound to meet their international commitments and other obligations trustfully and seriously. Member states settle their international disputes peacefully. In accordance with the provision of the Charter, member states are obliged to settle all their disputes and conflicts by peaceful means. The Charter has also made provision of step-by-step mechanisms for the Security Council to settle disputes peacefully before using any coercive force. Non-intervention in the internal affairs of the member states. Nothing in the Charter has authorized the UN to intervene in the matters which are essentially within the domestic jurisdiction of any sovereign member state. Member states are not obliged to submit any matter falling exclusively within their domestic jurisdiction to the authority of the UN. Member states are to give the UN assistance. According to this provision, it is responsibility of all member states to oblige to accept and to carry out the decisions of the Security Councils. Each and every action decided by any organ of the UN and measures decided by the Security Council on military action and contribution of troops. The prohibition of using force in interstate relations. The term force refers to in military actions directed against the territorial integrity and any threat against the political independence of other states, as well as other manners against the purpose and principles of the UN. It ignores the conceptions of war as a means of international politics. Membership. Membership of the UN is open to all peace-loving states which accept the obligations of the Charter and are able to carry out these obligations. The General Assembly admits new members on the recommendations of the Security Council. Membership of UNO. China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, and United States are permanent members of UNO. The membership in the United Nations is open to all peace-loving states which accept the obligations contained in the present charter and, in the judgment of the organization, are able and willing to carry out these obligations. The admission of any such state to membership in the United Nations will be affected by a decision of the two-thirds of members in General Assembly upon the recommendation of the Security Council. So, it was my pleasure for me to share my knowledge via Aduce Online Study. So, do press like button, share button, and subscribe button. For notification of more of such educational videos, do not forget to press bell icon after you press subscribe button. Do leave your valuable comments in comment box for giving us ideas on improved video presentation of Aduce from Aduce Online Study. So, thank you.